Hi, this is Mary Boukouvalas from What's My Scene magazine, and you're with Star Scene. And today we have Johni Holiday from Ruff Majik from South Africa. Hey, Johni, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's early in the morning for you.
Relatively, yes.
Have you had your cup of coffee yet?
Yes, I have had a cup of coffee, had a smoke, feeling good.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I am loving your new album. I mean, I love the singles that were the lead up to the album as well. They were brilliant. And looking at the credits, you wrote all the lyrics for these?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
I'm always writing the lyrics for the songs, I guess. Well, someone has to do it, basically. So I'm just the one that ended up with the job.
Well, they're amazing, the lyrics. They're very profound.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
You're defined as a stoner rock band, but
Yeah.
there's not that much, guitar and times you can actually just zone out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tag we ended up with, so I don't really care. We just roll with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not stoner rock in a general sense.
Well, you're in a great league. I mean, whenever someone refers to you, they refer to Caius, so that's
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's really excellent. And we love our rock and roll. We love our stoner rock as well in Melbourne and Australia. Have you ever thought of visiting us?
Definitely, it's just it hasn't worked out that way as of yet. We've made missions to Europe so far, but we've definitely been interested in going to Australia. We just need to find a booker, and the world needs to not be ending for a little while. Then we can try.
Well, speaking of apocalypse of the world, your lyrics are so dystopian. What brings you to write these lyrics?
Well, the world as is at the moment, it's just I don't know. I don't think it's not technically planned. It just kind of that's how it comes out because of whatever's happening. So yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do you read dystopian fiction?
I do, but also not as much anymore. These days I just read the news, and that pretty much reads like dystopian fiction. So
Definitely.
yeah.
I think we're in an Orwellian present rather than future.
No, definitely.
Definitely. Now, I just wanted to ask about the actual process you went through for writing this new album, Devil's Cattle. How did that come about?
Well, I've been writing the lyrics ever since we released the previous album, basically, because I just can't. As soon as something's out, then I need to be working on something else. Otherwise, I go a bit crazy. So I've just been writing lyrics and riffs since I guess May of 2019, and then we started recording in September of last year, I believe, and finished early this year. But yeah, it's just like a compilation of whatever was happening in my life at certain points throughout the year, and then I write it down. Not even just my life, sometimes I hear a conversation in a bar and I'm like, wow, that's a good thing, I'm gonna write that down.
I love how you hear the conversations at the bar.
Yeah. Well, it works. People say interesting stuff at bars.
That's where the most profound thoughts are, made.
And nobody remembers them the next day anyway, so somebody needs to be documenting it.
I love it. Were there any songs that were challenging for you?
Maybe two of the songs on the album, but I won't say which.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all a big secret. But yeah, no, sometimes, from a lyrical point of view, then when I reread the lyrics, then you remember why you wrote the lyrics, and then it does get a bit intense. But that's all right, kind of. But that's why I make music in the first place, to get rid of all this stuff in my head.
Well, exactly. And so many people can relate to it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, and that's the reason why I don't ever really go deep into discussions about the meaning of each song, because I think people attach a different meaning to it from their perspective. And so if I tell you this song is about dropping my toast on the floor, then it's not going to be as profound. So usually I just leave it to people to interpret whichever way they want.
I hope my favorite song wasn't about dropping your toast.
No, none of the songs are about dropping your toast. I was just
my favorite songs, and I was trying to list them because I've been listening to it now for a little while. And like Heart Like an Alligator, I love, the title track I love. And then I just kept going, and it felt like I just loved every song for different reasons. It's a brilliant album. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I love the way you have these poignant little snippets within them, maybe at the start or at the end. How did you and why did you come up with that?
Well, I like to, even with some of our previous albums, we do kind of use the same idea, because it helps to get the album flowing, I guess, especially when every song in the album sounds so different. Like with this album, there's a lot of different things happening, and then it could feel just disjointed. But then it's good if there's even if they're not thematically the same, the idea that you have these little snippets kind of ties it all together. So yeah, that was the main plan with that, to just make sure everything sticks together. And then I basically found clips that I liked from old movies that are in the public domain, because I like some old movies. And then if I hear something that sounds really cool, I'm like, yes, that's the thing. It would fit perfectly for this song,
Yeah, because you've
That's
got things like, vampires, devils. And I think the one that really not shocked me, but it took me by surprise, but I loved it, was the one about the effects of alcohol being misleading.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that one actually fit perfectly with the song as well, because, in a general sense, I guess that song has a lot to do with heavy drinking. But yeah.
Now, what's next?
It's hard to say. We were planning on being in Europe already, playing shows, but obviously it's not happening this year. Don't know when it's happening in next year, hopefully soon. But yeah, other than that, already working on new material. So yeah, I don't know. We're either going to tour first or release a new album before we tour again, but that depends on the general state of the world.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to hear the new material, but hopefully, I mean, this has been such a different way of releasing an album.
Yeah, it is really weird.
Yeah. What has happened with COVID? Like, plans destroyed?
Yeah, very much so, actually. But like I said, we were planning a tour initially, which would have been in May of this year, in May of this year, we would have gone to Europe again. And then we would have released The Devil's Cattle then already. That was planned. But then obviously none of that happened. So that kind of set everything back. And then we tried to push back the release of the album until a date that we could tour. And then it became apparent that, it's not happening this year. So we ended up saying, what, let's release it on October. We'll have nice singles, get everything out there, and then we'll see where it goes from there, and hope for better news next year, I guess. But yeah, it hasn't been a great time, but what can you do?
How has it been in South Africa with the lockdowns? And are you in lockdown at the moment?
We're not in lockdown at the moment. Well, we are technically. Our lockdown was in levels. So it started at level 5, which was a super strict lockdown, and we've been going down since then. So we're now in the level 1 of lockdown, which is pretty much life resuming as normal, but it's still not working out well for live shows because we, maximum capacity and all that type of stuff. But we can play some shows. We did about 3, or maybe 4, just like smallish shows. But yeah, other than that, life is mostly back to normal. But when it started, when we were in hard lockdown, it was a bit intense because I think it was about a month that we couldn't go out unless it was for essential reasons, and we also had a full ban on tobacco and alcohol products, which was weird. Yeah.
I heard there were riots because the alcohol, like there were bans on alcohol.
Yeah, well, we're a country of alcoholics, so it wasn't the best idea. But then the hard lockdown stopped and some movement returned, but I think the alcohol ban lasted altogether for about 3 months, which was mind-wrecking. And the tobacco ban was even longer than that. But,
Wow.
you find a way, so bootlegging and
Bootlicking and making your own, maybe brewing your own.
Yeah, no, we figured it out, eventually. So I guess then the government was like, okay, fine, they'll lift the ban because people are doing it anyway. But yeah, it was a weird time. And we got into level 1 of lockdown, I think, about a month and a half ago. So no, more. It's probably been about 2 months now. So yeah, since then it's been quite all right. It's nothing much happening that seems weird. Just everyone's wearing a mask. Otherwise,
and
it's
what
quite
about
normal.
and the cases, are they there in South Africa or?
It's hard to say. I mean, according to our statistics, if you go and look up the graph, then you can see we had a spike and it's gone down considerably since then. But we're not entirely sure that the statistics are correct. I don't know. It seems to not make sense entirely. I felt like it should still be higher at this point, but I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's a bit weird. It's a crazy thing to deal with. So yeah, I also feel quite lucky in SA right now that we have, there is a return to shows. Even if I'm not playing, it's cool to be able to watch some stuff. And we never really get international acts anyway, so it's pretty much back to normal every year. So
well, let's hope you're an international act that comes to us.
Yes. No, I would love to do that. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay, so a few more questions, just 2 more. If you were to describe your sound in food form, how would you do that?
Food form? That's an interesting question. I don't know. It's like greasy burgers with milkshakes. Yeah, that's about it.
I love it.
But the milkshakes have to have some like brandy in them, maybe. Then yeah, that's the vibe.
I think you'd need an alcohol chaser with that.
Yeah.
And the last question, what is your scene?
Well, I don't know how to answer that. I can tell you about what happens in the South African scene and like bands and whatnot. I don't know how to say what is my scene. Well, I mean, we've got a very interesting local scene going, but it's not, it's definitely not just a one genre thing. We've got jazz bands and punk bands and stoner bands and just plain old rock and roll bands, and there's bands that play black metal and death metal, And the thing is, it's a very, everybody just kind of hangs out together. So it's a cool mix of stuff because you have all these different genres and everyone's friends with everyone and everyone's going to each other's shows and whatnot. So we have a good mixed bag, is what I'd say. That's what the South African scene is all about. lots of cool bands from all sorts of different genres, lots of people doing really cool stuff at this moment, and bands that have been able to break through to a more international crowd as well. We have a couple of those, and they're doing quite well for themselves. So yeah, I'd say it's good. It's a healthy scene. The only issue we have in SA, which I assume is nearly the same as in Australia, is it's a bit hard to tour because places are far apart, and the in between bits you can't play shows there because it's just empty or little rural towns. So yeah, that's the only thing. So you have to travel really far to do shows. Like at the moment, I'm living in Gauteng, which is the one province, and the two biggest cities are Pretoria and Johannesburg. They're really big, really close to each other. And there's a really well-developed scene over here. But then the closest scene is in Durban, which is about, let's say, 10 hours away. And then second closest would be Cape Town, which you can fly in 2 hours, but driving down is like 16 hours. So it's hard to connect the dots if you want to go on the tour, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I think kind of hinders the scene, but the scene itself is strong. We have lots of good bands, lots of good musicians, and the fans are into it as well. So
That's fantastic.
hopefully it will keep growing until it's a big thing.
And who are you listening to at the moment?
Oh, that's a hard question, I guess. Internationally, I've been listening to a lot of a UK band called Elephant Tree. We met up with them on our last tour in October last year. We played some shows with them at festivals in Germany. Really, really nice guys. And they make super interesting. It's like it's doomy kind of music, but it's very psychedelically influenced. It's just like these really epic, ethereal bills. That's very cool. So in SA, I've been listening to surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but I've been listening to more like intense stuff that come from here. The band called Vulvadinia, really, really cool death metal band, and they're doing well with the overseas market. They've had guest vocals from the guy from Black Dahlia Murder, for instance.
Okay.
Like, yeah, they're doing really good work, and it's just really fun music, heavy riffs and pig squeals, cool vibes. So that's quite fun. And then, well, I guess those are the two I've been listening to most now. Oh, and then our one vocalist, the second vocalist in the band, Evert, he's got a solo project that is running now. I added some bass in some of the songs and some guitar in some of the songs. So I've been listening to that a lot, but because we've been working on it. But it's really cool.
Right.
You're going to enjoy it when it comes out.
And when you were growing up, who were you listening to?
I was listening to a lot of Jack White, to be honest. Like I started out as, and then I had a good musical upbringing because my dad used to be into, The Who and Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and Sabbath. So that definitely got me hooked on the rock and roll side of things. And my mom, she was very into David Bowie and Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan, which is, I guess, where I get my lyrical aspirations from.
Fantastic.
And it was a combination of the two. And then when I started trying to find my own music, I guess I was trying to find a midway between the two. And then I heard the White Stripes, and I was just like, yes, this is the vibe, and kind of just branched out from there.
And what did they think of your shows? Have they come recently, or?
Well, my mom, I would say, does not understand entirely. She's excited for it, but she doesn't. It's a bit noisy. I'm like, okay, yes, that makes sense. That's why. So on the new album, we have like 2 more easygoing songs, because it was like, okay, there's a song my mom could listen to. That's the thing. My dad unfortunately passed away, but a while ago, like 3 years ago. But he was very excited for anything. So he used to be, well, I guess his his biggest criticism ever was, we played a show and he was like, this is very nice, but you could sound a little bit more like Sabbath. And I was like, okay.
I'm sure he'd be very proud of you.
Yeah, well, I think so too. He enjoyed it, so it's a good thing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the album. And I look forward to seeing you in Australia sometime soon.
Yes, definitely. Gonna keep saying soon, because I'm gonna, I don't know, get some positive energy out there or whatever. So hopefully soon we